Mara Keen balanced a tray of steaming dishes as the chatter of the interstellar spaceport diners swirled around her. Aliens of every shape and size crowded the tables, their voices a strange mix of clicks, hums and growls. She ducked under a low beam, narrowly avoiding a floating server drone, and felt the familiar hum of adrenaline that always came with the evening rush. But nothing in her life had prepared her for what streaked across the sky that night. A sharp flash drew her gaze upward. A massive shape, like a dragon etched from fire and steel, sliced through the darkening sky, leaving a trail of orange sparks behind it. Her heart skipped. Mara blinked, certain her eyes were playing tricks. None of the spaceport sensors had picked up anything like that. Before she could think, a second shape broke off from the first. Something, or someone, plummeted toward the ground. Mara's instincts took over. She shoved the tray aside, letting plates clatter harmlessly to the floor. Her boots hit the metal catwalk with a metallic clang as she sprinted toward the exit ramp. Outside, the crowd froze, staring upward. The falling figure crashed into a narrow alley beside the diner with a sickening thud. Smoke curled into the night, and a low, guttural groan rose from the wreckage. Mara's stomach turned. Without hesitation, she grabbed the small energy flare from her utility belt, flicked it on and waved it toward the alley. The warm light cut through the darkness. A massive shape stirred in the shadows. Scales glimmered like molten metal and golden eyes opened, wary but in pain. The Dragon King, she realized in a shock, was huge, but the brilliance of its gaze carried intelligence beyond anything human. Its wing was bent at an impossible angle, steam hissing from the wound. "Stay still," Mara whispered, crouching low. Her voice shook, but she forced calm. The dragon's eyes flicked to her flare, curious. Another moment and she might have lost it to panic, or predators that were already circling in the alley. Mara scanned the perimeter. Faint glints told her that small drones, invisible at first glance, hovered in the shadows, tracking the fallen creature. Her mind raced. She had no weapons, no allies, and yet she had to act. Mara crouched, thinking fast. She ripped a metal plate from the alley wall and slid it toward the king, shielding its exposed side. A predator, humanoid but alien, hissed, testing the area. She met its gaze, flare in hand, and flung a burst of light directly at its sensors. The machine squealed, retreating momentarily. The dragon stirred and tried to rise. Its weight nearly crushed her plan. Mara yelled, "Wait! Don't move yet." Somehow, through instinct or understanding, the dragon froze, watching her carefully. She noticed glowing lines etched across its scales, symbols that pulsed faintly with a blue light. Curiosity pricked her mind. What were they? And why did only she seem to see them flicker? The alley filled with tension. Mara could feel the predator closing in, hear the whir of its invisible wings. She adjusted the flare, angling it to catch the king's scales, and the blue glow intensified. The symbols seemed to respond to the light. A small thought struck her. Maybe this creature wasn't just a fighter. Maybe it was signaling something. Her decision came in a heartbeat. Mara leaned forward, murmuring soothing words she didn't even know she could speak, and pressed the Dragon King against the protective plate. Sparks from the flare reflected across its scales like fire dancing on water. The predators paused as if hesitating at the sight. Mara's quick thinking had bought time, but she knew it wouldn't last long. A sudden screech cut through the alley. From the far end, a drone, a sleek black thing with sharp edges, dived toward them. Mara didn't flinch. She grabbed a loose piece of piping and swung, striking the drone. It wobbled and crashed into a wall, shorting out in a shower of sparks. The dragon shifted, impressed, its golden eyes locking onto hers with what felt like recognition. For a heartbeat, the world seemed still. Mara's chest heaved, sweat running down her temples. She had saved the king for now. A small, silent victory. The first payoff of her courage. But then the air shimmered oddly, and another shadow flickered behind the king. Something she hadn't seen, moving faster than any human or dragon could. Mara's stomach sank. Whatever had sent the drones, whatever had been hunting this king, it was still out there. And now it was closer than she realized. She tightened her grip on the flare, taking a deep breath. She had no choice. She had to keep going, to act, to survive. But for the first time, Mara wondered if even her courage would be enough against what came next. The alley grew colder, the shadows longer, and the faint pulse of the Dragon King's glowing symbols beat like a warning in the night. Something was about to happen, and Mara could feel it in her bones. A low, mechanical hiss echoed from the shadows behind her. Mara spun, flare raised, heart hammering. She was not alone. And then she saw it. Mara's pulse pounded as she pressed herself against the alley wall. The Dragon King stirred beside her, groaning low, its golden eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. The mechanical hiss had not been a single drone. There were more, hundreds of tiny sensors hidden in the shadows, tracing every movement, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Mara knew they had no time. Every second mattered. She scanned the narrow passage. Pipes, crates, and jagged metal beams littered the ground. Mara's mind raced. She had to think fast. One wrong step, and both she and the Dragon King would be finished before they even had a chance. The first predator emerged from the shadows. A tall, humanoid figure, sleek and metallic, its glowing red eyes scanning. It paused, calculating. Mara didn't wait. She grabbed a crate and slammed it toward the figure, sending sparks flying as it struck the metal plating. The predator stumbled, then recovered, advancing steadily. "Come on," Mara whispered, gripping the flare tighter. She glanced at the Dragon King. Its wing twitched, testing the pain. She had to buy them time. Using her free hand, she ripped a rusted pipe from the ground and swung it, striking another approaching drone. Sparks erupted, and the creature hissed, retreating momentarily. The Dragon King shifted, letting out a rumbling growl that vibrated through Mara's chest. It was almost as if it understood her moves. Mara's heart clenched. This massive, ancient creature, a king among its kind, was depending on a human waitress. She swallowed her fear and nodded, silently telling it she would protect it. From the corner of her eye, Mara saw movement above. The drones weren't just coming from the alley. They were descending from the rooftops, invisible until they shimmered against the lights. She had to act fast. Thinking instinctively, Mara shouted, "King, stay low," and rolled to the side, dragging the dragon down with her. A small explosion echoed behind them as one drone miscalculated and slammed into a wall. The vibration rattled the alley, making the Dragon King hiss in pain. Mara's mind snapped to a plan. The alley had a narrow fork that led to an abandoned maintenance tunnel. If they could reach it, the hunters' drones might be slowed by the tight space. But the path was risky. One false move and they would be trapped. She grabbed the dragon's claw, not knowing if it understood her words, and began to guide it toward the fork. Sparks flew from broken wiring along the walls, reflecting off the dragon's scales. The glowing symbols on its body pulsed brighter with each step. Mara realized they might not just be decoration, they could be some kind of signal, a warning, or even a key. She didn't understand it yet, but she had to keep moving. Halfway to the fork, a sudden flash blinded her. One of the drones had deployed a light burst, meant to disorient. Mara stumbled, her flare slipping from her hand. She risked a glance at the Dragon King, expecting panic. Instead, it surged forward, shielding her with its massive body, letting out a deafening roar that echoed down the alley. Mara felt a small surge of hope. Together, they were stronger than the hunters had anticipated. They reached the fork and Mara ducked into the narrower path. The drones hesitated, their sensors unable to navigate the tight corners as quickly. Mara allowed herself a brief, triumphant smile. A small victory. Her intelligence and quick thinking had bought them precious seconds. The maintenance tunnel was dark, damp, and filled with old machinery, but it offered cover. Mara crouched, pressing her back against the wall, listening. The Dragon King's breathing was heavy, painful, but steady. Mara reached out, brushing her hand along its scales. The glowing symbols shimmered in response, almost like a heartbeat. She whispered, "We're going to make it." A faint whir caught her attention. Mara froze. From the shadows, a single figure emerged, different from the drones. Taller, fluid, and unsettlingly human in shape, but its eyes glowed an unnatural green. Mara's stomach clenched. This wasn't just a hunter, it was something else. Something clever, capable of thinking beyond programming. The alien predator had been sent with a purpose, and now it was evaluating them. Mara realized the stakes had grown. The drones were dangerous, but this shapeshifter, or whatever it was, could anticipate their moves. The tunnel offered temporary safety, but not for long. She needed a plan. Her mind raced through options, weighing speed against risk. The alien predator stepped closer, its body shifting subtly as it studied them. Mara raised her hand, trying to create a barrier, but there was nothing physical she could do. The Dragon King's glowing symbols pulsed rapidly, almost frantically. Mara understood instinctively, the king was signaling danger. She needed to act now. Without hesitation, Mara grabbed a loose metal panel and flung it at the predator. Sparks flew and it hissed, recoiling slightly. It wasn't enough to stop it, but the distraction gave the Dragon King the moment it needed. With a sudden surge, it leapt forward, blocking Mara and forcing the predator back into the shadows. Mara's heart raced, but a spark of hope ignited. They had survived this encounter, and she had bought the Dragon King a momentary reprieve. But Mara knew the danger was far from over. The alien predator would adapt and the drones would continue to hunt. A larger, deadlier trap was closing around them. Her eyes met the Dragon King's golden gaze. There was trust there, a fragile connection forged in seconds of shared danger. Mara realized that her courage, and her human quick thinking, was their only chance. And yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that the predator wasn't alone, that something even more dangerous was waiting deeper in the shadows. The symbols on the Dragon King pulsed again, brighter this time, almost like a warning. Mara felt the weight of the moment pressing down. Every choice from here on could mean life or death, not just for her but for the Dragon King and whatever secrets it carried. And then from the far end of the tunnel, a deep, rumbling vibration shook the floor. Mara froze. The walls shivered as if responding to a massive force approaching. Her breath caught. Whatever was coming next, it wasn't just another hunter. Something ancient. Something alive. Something that could see them. And it was coming fast. The tunnel shook again, rattling loose panels and sending a shower of sparks across the floor. Mara pressed herself against the wall, heart hammering. The Dragon King shifted beside her, groaning in pain but remaining still. Its glowing symbols pulsed brighter than before, almost urgent. Mara's eyes traced the patterns and a sudden thought struck her. These weren't just decorations. They were a signal. A message. But what could it mean? She didn't have time to think. The distant rumble grew louder, echoing off the metal walls. Whatever was approaching was massive, far larger than any hunter drone. Mara glanced at the king. Its gaze met hers, almost expectant. She realized it was counting on her to make the next move. Instinct took over. Mara grabbed a loose wire hanging from the ceiling and wrapped it around a nearby pipe, creating a makeshift trip line. Then she ran to the far side of the tunnel, waving her flare to draw the attention of whatever was coming. Sparks reflected off the Dragon King's scales, the blue symbols responding to the light. The creature growled, a low, rumbling warning. The rumble intensified. From the shadows ahead, something enormous emerged. A shape unlike anything Mara had seen. It was a predator but not mechanical. Its body shimmered with shifting colors, fluid and alive, like liquid metal in motion. Its eyes glowed green, intelligent and calculating. Mara's stomach dropped. This was the shapeshifter she had sensed before, but now it was fully revealed. The creature paused at the trip line. Mara held her breath. The king stiffened, and the symbols on its scales flashed rapidly, almost like Morse code. Mara's mind raced. Could the symbols be giving her instructions? Was this some kind of ancient warning embedded in the king's body? She had no choice but to act on instinct. She grabbed a loose panel from the wall and flung it toward the shapeshifter. Sparks flew, reflecting off its shifting body. The creature hissed but did not advance. Mara seized the moment. "King, follow me," she shouted. With an effortful groan, the Dragon King lifted its injured wing and shuffled forward. Mara ran beside it, guiding it toward a narrow ventilation shaft she had spotted earlier. As they moved, Mara noticed something extraordinary. A faint pulse of light, like a tiny beacon, emerged from the Dragon King's chest. She realized she could see it because of a unique sensitivity in her human vision, something no other species seemed capable of perceiving. Her heart raced. This was not just a signal, it was a guide. A hidden path, a safe zone maybe, waiting to be discovered. Mara's mind raced. If she could lead the king along this path, they might escape the shapeshifter and the drones. But the route was perilous. One misstep could trap them between walls or lead them into another predator's ambush. She swallowed her fear and focused. Every step, every choice mattered. The shapeshifter reacted instantly, realizing their direction. It surged forward, moving faster than she thought possible. Mara's pulse spiked. She grabbed a loose chain hanging from the ceiling and swung it, snagging a drone that had been hiding above. It crashed to the floor in a shower of sparks, momentarily slowing the pursuit. The shapeshifter hissed, frustrated. Mara felt a flicker of hope. One small victory. The ventilation shaft was narrow and winding. Mara crouched low, urging the king forward. The pulse from its chest grew stronger as they moved deeper into the passage. Mara realized it was not just a signal, it was guiding them to a place designed to protect this creature, a hidden refuge that even the hunters couldn't find. Suddenly, the floor shuddered beneath them. Mara looked up just in time to see part of the ceiling shift, an ancient mechanism triggered by their movement. She dove, pulling the Dragon King down with her as a section of wall slid into place, sealing off the entry behind them. A small, victorious smile touched her lips. They had escaped, at least temporarily. But the shapeshifter wasn't finished. From the shadows ahead, its glowing eyes followed them, calculating, patient, waiting for another opening. Mara's stomach twisted. They had survived the drones, the hunt, and even the first ambush, but the real threat was still out there, and it was smarter than any human, any dragon, any combination of both. Mara's thoughts flicked back to the glowing symbols. Perhaps this refuge wasn't just safe, it might hold answers. The king shifted slightly, hissing in acknowledgement. Somehow it trusted her judgment. Mara felt a surge of pride tempered by fear. This massive, ancient creature, counting on her for survival. A human waitress, guiding a dragon king through deadly enemies. She reached out and touched the glowing pulse. The king twitched, and for a fleeting moment, Mara glimpsed visions in her mind. Flashes of alien landscapes, star systems, and strange, glowing glyphs. She blinked, stunned. She didn't understand it yet, but one thing was clear. The king's symbols were more than a signal. They were a key. A hidden power. The shapeshifter hissed again, closer now, and Mara's focus snapped back. There wasn't time to ponder mysteries. Survival came first. She adjusted her grip on the king, guiding it deeper into the labyrinth of the tunnel. Every twist and turn brought them further from the hunters, but she knew this was only the beginning. And then as they reached a bend, Mara froze. Ahead, the faint pulse of the Dragon King's symbols glowed brighter than ever, illuminating an enormous chamber. The space was unlike anything Mara had ever seen. Walls etched with alien glyphs, glowing energy conduits, and a central platform that radiated power. She realized with a jolt, this must be the hidden refuge the pulse had led them to. But as she stepped forward, a shadow flickered across the far wall. Mara's stomach sank. The shapeshifter wasn't done. It had found them or was waiting for something else. And then the symbols on the king flared suddenly, bright and urgent. Mara's breath caught. Whatever was coming next, it wasn't just the shapeshifter. Something far older, far more dangerous was awakening. She swallowed hard and whispered, "Hold on. We're not done yet." The chamber's energy pulsed around them like a living heartbeat. Mara Keen's eyes darted across the walls, taking in alien glyphs that glowed with an eerie blue light. The Dragon King shifted beside her, limping, its golden eyes locked on the shadows at the far end. The shapeshifter had followed them into this place, or maybe it had been waiting. Either way, Mara knew the next few minutes would decide everything. "Stay close," she whispered, gripping the dragon's claw. The king hissed softly in acknowledgement. Mara's pulse raced. Every instinct screamed danger, yet every ounce of human determination surged within her. She had gotten them this far. She would not fail now. A sudden screech split the chamber as the shapeshifter emerged, its body flickering between humanoid form and a fluid metallic silhouette. Its glowing green eyes bore into Mara, calculating, waiting. Mara realized instantly, this creature could anticipate moves, mimic reactions, and adapt faster than any human could. But Mara had one advantage: it couldn't predict human creativity. She scanned the room. The central platform pulsed with energy, and conduits snaked along the walls, connecting to massive crystalline nodes. Sparks flew intermittently, creating temporary bursts of light that revealed the chamber's layout. Mara's mind raced. The symbols on the Dragon King flared in response, almost like instructions. She realized they could use the environment, not just the dragon, to fight. "King, follow my lead," she said, and the massive creature crouched beside her. Mara grabbed a loose conduit from the floor and jammed it into one of the crystalline nodes. Sparks surged and the chamber's energy shifted. The shapeshifter hissed, recoiling slightly as arcs of blue electricity danced across the floor. Mara felt a surge of hope. One small victory. The predator advanced again, moving faster than she expected. Mara ducked low, pulling the dragon down with her. Together they rolled behind a cluster of glowing nodes. The dragon's injured wing scraped against the metal floor, but it didn't protest. Mara realized something incredible. This massive, ancient creature trusted a human. She swallowed hard and felt a surge of pride and responsibility. She grabbed a loose metal panel and flung it toward the shapeshifter. Sparks flew, and the creature hissed, shifting its form in frustration. Mara seized the moment. She ran toward a secondary node, yanking a lever exposed beneath the energy conduit. A wave of energy pulsed outward, knocking the predator back against the far wall. The room shook and a deep rumble vibrated through the floor. The Dragon King roared, a sound that shook Mara to her core, yet filled her with courage. It surged forward, striking at the shapeshifter with its massive claw. The creature twisted, avoiding the blow, but the combined attack, the human and the dragon, forced it to retreat into the shadows. Mara's mind raced. She needed more than temporary relief. They had to end this now. She noticed a glowing symbol etched into the floor, matching the Dragon King's chest markings. A thought struck her. If she could activate it, maybe it would amplify the dragon's energy, giving them the upper hand. She sprinted toward it, dragging the king along. Sparks arced across the chamber as the shapeshifter recovered and lunged. Mara barely dodged, twisting her body and using the king as a shield. Pain shot through her shoulder, but she gritted her teeth and pressed forward. The symbol beneath them flared to life as the dragon's chest pressed against it. Blue energy surged through the king, and its wings lifted slightly, shimmering with renewed strength. The shapeshifter hissed, thrown back by the sudden burst of power. Mara's heart leapt. The Dragon King's energy was responding to her actions. Her courage, her decisions had triggered something ancient, something powerful. With a deafening roar, the dragon leapt, striking the shapeshifter with force enough to send it skidding across the floor. Mara stumbled, nearly falling, but held her ground. The predator scrambled, but it was slower now, unsteady. Mara knew they had only seconds. She grabbed another conduit and jammed it into a nearby node. Electricity arced wildly, surrounding the shapeshifter in a cage of glowing blue energy. The creature shrieked, struggling, but it could not escape. The chamber fell silent, save for the Dragon King's heavy breathing and Mara's ragged inhale. The symbols on the king dimmed slightly, pulsing slower now. The shapeshifter lay incapacitated, pinned by energy that Mara had improvised. Her mind reeled. She had done it. They had survived. The Dragon King was safe. Mara crouched beside the massive creature, placing a hand on its glowing chest. "It's okay," she whispered. "We made it." The dragon's golden eyes softened, an almost imperceptible nod of gratitude. Mara felt tears sting her eyes. She had faced impossible odds, machines, shapeshifters, ancient traps, and had triumphed through courage, quick thinking, and empathy. A human had saved a Dragon King. But her relief was short-lived. From the far side of the chamber, one of the smaller dragonlings that had followed them hissed and ran toward the central platform. The pulsing symbols flared again, stronger than before. Mara's stomach dropped. This wasn't over. The energy that had saved them now hinted at something larger, something ancient awakening. Mara glanced at the Dragon King. Its eyes locked on hers, urgency flashing in the golden gaze. The symbols pulsed rhythmically as if trying to communicate a warning she couldn't yet understand. A thought struck her. Whatever power they had just triggered, it was only the beginning. Something far bigger, far more dangerous was tied to these symbols. And it would not remain dormant for long. Mara swallowed hard, gripping the king's claw. She had saved him, yes, but the universe had just shown her a glimpse of threats and mysteries far beyond her imagination. Her mind raced with questions. What was the hidden purpose of the symbols? Who, or what, had designed them? And why had only a human been able to trigger them? A low hum began to echo through the chamber, vibrating through the floor and walls. Mara's eyes widened. The symbols flared brighter, almost as if responding to the hum. The Dragon King shifted, alert, wings quivering, ready for the unknown. Mara felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her shoulders. She took a deep breath and whispered, "We've done it, for now. But this isn't over." The symbols pulsed again, brighter than ever, and the chamber shivered. Mara knew deep down that their victory had only awakened something far older, far more dangerous, and far more mysterious. The adventure was just beginning, and it would demand everything she had. Her heart pounded. Her courage surged. She was human, small against ancient powers, but in that moment she was the only hope the Dragon King, and perhaps the galaxy, had. And somewhere, deep within the pulsing energy, something ancient stirred, waiting for what came next. The chamber was quiet now, but the energy thrumming from the central platform refused to die. Mara Keen's legs trembled as she lowered herself onto a cool metal beam, trying to catch her breath. The Dragon King, massive and regal even in its injured state, shifted beside her, its golden eyes studying her with something that felt like awe. Mara had expected fear, indifference, even aggression, but not recognition. Not gratitude. She reached out, hesitating only for a moment, and placed her hand on one of its massive claws. The scales were warm beneath her fingers, the glowing symbols pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Mara swallowed hard. This creature, so vast and ancient, trusted a human. That realization settled in her chest, heavy and thrilling. She had never felt anything like it before. The smaller dragonlings that had followed them scuttled closer, eyes wide, tails flicking nervously. Mara crouched, speaking softly in a human whisper. "It's okay, you're safe now." Her words seemed to calm them, and one of the younger dragons nudged her hand gently as if testing her. Mara smiled. She had bridged a gap no one else had dared to cross. From the shadows, the incapacitated shapeshifter writhed briefly, then went still. Mara's gaze followed it. She knew this was only temporary, whatever had sent it would not give up so easily. But for now, in this moment, they had won. The king was alive. The dragonlings were safe. And a human had made all the difference. The Dragon King lifted its head and emitted a deep, resonant rumble. Mara felt the vibration through the beam beneath her. It was not a roar, not a threat, but a form of communication. She didn't understand the language, but the tone was unmistakable: approval, respect, acknowledgement. Her heart lifted. She had not only saved a creature, she had earned its trust. She stood, brushing dust from her uniform, and surveyed the chamber. The symbols on the walls glowed faintly, reacting to the king's presence. Mara felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility. This was not just a creature she had saved, it was a key to something much larger. Something powerful, ancient, and undeniably important. The dragonlings chirped softly, one of them stepping closer to Mara. Its tiny claws tapped against the floor, hesitant but curious. Mara extended her hand. The dragonling sniffed, then nudged her palm. A small smile tugged at her lips. She had never imagined herself here, in this chamber, amidst beings that had once seemed legends. Yet here she was. Brave, human, and indispensable. A low hum began again, the symbols on the Dragon King glowing brighter, pulsing in rhythm with its heartbeat. Mara's stomach tightened. The energy was alive, responsive. She realized with a jolt. This chamber, this dragon, and these symbols were part of something far greater. She was standing at the threshold of an ancient secret, one that no human had touched before. The king lowered its massive head closer to Mara, almost gently. She placed her forehead against its snout, feeling the warmth and strength beneath. "You'll be okay," she whispered. "We'll face this, together." Its golden eyes blinked slowly, a gesture of connection she would never forget. In that instant, Mara understood something fundamental about courage and empathy. Humans were capable of extraordinary things not because of size or strength but because of heart and will. The chamber trembled once more, faint but insistent. Mara stepped back, scanning the walls. The symbols pulsed in a sequence she didn't fully understand, and the king's chest glowed brightly. A shiver ran down her spine. Whatever had been dormant here was awakening. Something ancient, something vast, had taken notice of her actions. Mara's mind raced. Questions flooded in. What did the symbols mean? Who had created this sanctuary? Why had the king allowed her to survive and intervene? And most importantly, what would happen next? She knew instinctively that this was only the beginning. The galaxy, the dragons, and whatever force slept in the depths of this chamber were now connected to her. The Dragon King shifted, gesturing with a massive wing toward an alcove at the far end of the chamber. Mara approached cautiously. There, carved into the wall, was a map of stars, constellations she did not recognize, and pathways of energy that connected distant planets. Her breath caught. This was not just a sanctuary, it was a guide, a network of hidden locations that might hold untold power. Mara felt a surge of purpose. She had come here as a waitress, an ordinary human. Yet through courage, intelligence, and empathy, she had become a key player in something far larger than herself. The dragons had overlooked danger, but she had seen it. She had acted. She had saved a king, and in doing so, she had opened the door to mysteries beyond her imagination. A small dragonling chirped insistently, drawing her attention. Mara knelt, smiling. It pressed its tiny forehead against hers, and in that instant she felt a bond form, not just with the dragonlings or the king, but with the larger world she was now part of. The choices she made mattered. The courage she carried could ripple across species and planets alike. She straightened and looked at the king, golden eyes meeting hers. Somewhere deep within those ancient eyes was acknowledgement of her role, not just as a human but as a protector, a bridge, and perhaps a future hero in an unfolding story that stretched far beyond this chamber. A soft pulse echoed through the walls, brighter this time. Mara's stomach tightened. The symbols had activated something. The king's chest glowed, and the hum of energy reverberated with power she could feel in her bones. She knew this was only a taste of what lay ahead. A hidden, galaxy-spanning secret awaited. Mara took a deep breath. She had saved a king, gained the trust of dragons, and survived impossible odds. But the adventure was far from over. Something ancient had awakened, and the human heart would be the key to what came next. She looked at the stars mapped on the wall, then back at the Dragon King. "We're ready," she whispered. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." And from the pulsing symbols, a faint glow spread through the chamber, hinting at a secret older than the galaxy itself. Mara realized with a thrill that her journey was only beginning, and the universe had just turned its eyes toward her.